Episode 278. Well, I have a very good friend. She's a conservative, and we talk about conservative, things, and we share the same values. And one day she's like, "Hey, you're a unique guy. You're an Asian guy, but it has very conservative values." I'm like, "Well, naturally, Asians are very conservative. We don't believe in abortion. Uh, we left, wherever we left. My parents left Vietnam to come here for freedom. So we have those conservative values, and we believe in conservative, values." And so she's like, "Hey, would you like to be on the Chad Prater show?" I'm like, "Chad who?" So
Right.
I was on. He's a great guy.
Yeah, he's funny. He's a comedian. He's really got some great chops. And well, your show devolved very quickly to talking about well, what was the theme of the show?
Well, there's two themes. The first theme is white men don't have any balls.
Stop there. I will come over and kick your ass. What do you mean white men don't have balls?
Well, if you follow politics, the whole narrative is pretty anti-establishment, anti-white society, anti-white culture. The culture that we have, the American culture. The white men should be able to defend that. I mean, there is no shame in protecting your values.
Yeah, but don't you know that all white men have white cone hats with the letters KKK, and they have these robes and they burn crosses in people's yards? Don't you know we do that every single night? I mean, that's part of being a white man in this country. You got to have your KKK card. Don't you know that everybody's a racist in this country? Haven't you heard? Didn't you get the memo from Joe Biden and Kamala? I mean, come on, man.
Well, why don't you, if you're one of them, and then that's your problem. I don't like racist people, but if you're not, why don't you stand up and fight for it?
Yeah,
Why,
but how do we do that? I mean, here I am. I got you on a show
okay,
right now.
let's
You
say
tell
I'm
me.
a guy that
How do we know you're a guy?
okay. Let's assume
You're
I'm.
kind of cute for a dude.
Oh yeah, well I don't go that route, but you're welcome to check me out.
No, thank you. I got my boxing. Hold on. All right. No.
But
Rancor.
but here's my thing. Okay, let's say you're not a racist, and I don't think you're a racist.
Okay.
Okay, if someone comes up to you, and usually it's a white person that's gonna accuse you of being a racist. It's mainly it's not a person of color or a black guy that's gonna do it. It usually is a white liberal that's gonna in your face tell you that you're a racist. Why don't you have the balls to stand up and say, "I'm a racist"? Prove it. See, white people don't have the balls to do that. You just walk away, and that's the problem.
Well, what did Chad say when you accused him of being Nutless Wonder? How
Well,
did he handle that?
He's a funny guy. He laughed, and he actually agreed with me. So I'm surprised that he, that he
Well,
agreed.
did he have any remedies? Did he have any suggestions on how we could solve it? Because, I mean, there are some of us. I mean, I've gone to school board meetings, and I have engaged. I mean, you have to be careful because in heated situations like that, words can transfer into physical actions very quickly.
We don't want to do that, and I do not like any physical confrontation. But it's about time that you actually confront people for accuse you of something.
My question is, how do you do that, though? Because when you go on Facebook, it seems like these guys roam around in wolf packs, and there'll be one conservative, and they'll say something, like, "Hey, maybe we shouldn't be tearing down monuments." And then the next thing you know, 500 people have made some of the nastiest comments you can imagine. They threaten to go knock on your front door. They threaten your family, your wife, your kids. I mean, they're out of control.
Well, it's about time they stand up. It's about time that you stand up and say, "Hey, I don't like mob mentality. You have the freedom of speech."
Maybe we should be off Facebook altogether then.
Maybe
Maybe Facebook enables these morons to be brave. Maybe they're just keyboard commandos that sit around their mom's basement at 6 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning.
Look, I like Facebook. Facebook is okay. But it's about time that you do more than just Facebook.
I agree.
Facebook is freaking armchair warriors.
Yeah.
You talk a lot. What can you do besides Facebook? They're going to shut you down. What are you going to do?
We're going to take another commercial break. How about that?
Cool.
You cool with that? Because they pay the bills.
Okay.
So there's a young lady, her name is Sheena Snow. She's got a great operation called Ear Technicians. And Sheena Snow, #1 at yahoo.com. Sheena Snow, SNOW. Sheena spelled SHEENA, 1 at yahoo.com. I just had the earplugs put in. If you love to shoot like me, you have these acoustic earplugs that you put in. They fit nicely in your ear. You can wear your cowboy hat now. You don't have to wear the big goofy things. She even has Bluetooth, and they're around $70 to $90 depending on what accoutrements you get. And you can even get Bluetooth, and they'll crack it on up to $250. So back with you. I'm just curious though. You know, you talk about standing up to them, but you can't stand up to them in your corporation because they run your corporation. You know, they have these diversity meetings that you have to become a part of, and if you don't take them, they'll fire you. If you want to have a diverse opinion on Twitter or Facebook to a lesser extent, they will actually muzzle you, or they'll put, you know, they're so-called fact checkers, far left fact checkers that have nothing better to do. Well,
So you're telling me there is no legal recourse that you can do if they
yeah,
do
well,
that to you?
unfortunately, the Congress, in their infinite wisdom, gave them special status. I think it's 230 status. So I think it is. I can't remember exactly. And they are not treated like a newspaper editor. They are not responsible for the content. So I can't go to Zuckerberg and sue his ass for some of the jackassery that goes on his
Look,
Facebook page.
I'm just telling you how I see it. You gotta have balls to stand up and find a solution to this. If you don't, you're being complacent, and by a few years from now, you're gonna lose everything. You're gonna lose your First Amendment totally, and without the First Amendment, this republic is gone.
At least you didn't call it a democracy. Thank you. So you did do. I hear you're a history major.
I do have a master's in history.
Really? And
but that doesn't mean a thing. Honestly. I mean, what I pick up is what I learned in life. I've done a lot of things in my life. And one of them was the Peace Corps. So
isn't that like a far left, touchy-feely, feel good, go out and save the world?
For all honesty, I loved it. The 2 best years of my life.
Really?
Yes.
What'd you do?
Well,
Peace Corps
the Peace Corps, yeah. But honestly, I don't want to talk about which year or location because I don't want.
What year were you in it? What location?
I'm going to leave that off for now.
Why? I mean, come on, give us a break. These people want to know. There's like 1 million people watching you right now.
Watching about what? We're talking about white men don't have any balls. It's not about me.
So when did this happen? When did America start losing their nuthood?
Well, I believe it started in the 60s when things become.
You were still in Vietnam in the 60s.
Well,
when did you come over? 77?
I was born in 67.
Yeah, but what?
I came over in 79.
You took a cruise ship over, I hear.
Yeah, it was exciting.
Yeah, well, I'm going to save that because I think that entire story of how you guys left.
Let's get back to white men don't have any balls. That's you, one of the white men that don't have any balls.
That'd be me. Let me think that a little bit. But so, what have you done to show your nuthood?
Well, I speak up. I mean, I'm a nice guy.
How do we know you're a nice guy? I mean,
I'm a nice guy. I respect people. Look, let me tell you a story. I run into this lady. She's black. Small old lady. Loved her. Always treated me like a grandson. She always had the shirt on. Obama. And the back, with the African flag and everything.
Right.
And I'm like, I mean, I don't agree with Obama's policy, but I just love the lady.
Right.
I'm like, woman, you're standing up for what you believe. You got balls. I love that. I love that in people.
Yeah, but I don't think it takes so many balls to
Well,
walk
she's
around
walking.
with a Biden hat
She's
on.
walking
You know,
around.
they're not the ones getting the crap beat out of them. It's the ones wearing Trump hats.
But
that
still,
get
why-
crap beat out of them?
I know, but why can't you do that? Why can't you be proud enough and say, hey, this is America. It's the First Amendment. I believe in things that I really believe in, and I have the right to do it.
Yeah.
Even wearing, a freaking shirt that tells, people that that's how I believe.
Do you feel like the Vietnamese vote kind of like the blacks do in America as a bloc? Do you think the majority of them
No,
vote to the left?
Asian Asian
Now, when you say
Americans.
Asian, let's qualify that
Okay,
because I
let's
got no
say
freaking idea. When you say
okay,
Asian,
let's say
we talking India,
okay,
Pakistan? What are we talking
let's say
about?
Vietnamese Asian. Vietnamese Asians are naturally Republican. When I say Republican, because they believe in the conservative values. They left communism to come here for freedom. So how can you ask or tell anyone that is of Vietnamese descent that they should go liberal or vote for the Party?
Yeah,
You can't.
but I get the distinct impression. I haven't seen any of the data to prove it, but I think the Indians from India, not the Native American Indians, I think they tend to vote as a big bloc for the left,
Okay.
and I'm confused by that.
Well, I think I have some Indian friends, and I do talk about this, and I asked them. Well, there's one lady that's she's Indian, but she's a Christian. She's not a Hindu, nor Muslim. So each Indians come in, different
Right, I'm
cultures,
familiar.
different
Right,
religion.
Hindi.
Yes. So either a Hindu or Muslim or a Sikh or you can be Christian
Right,
as well.
right.
But she's a Christian. She's very conservative, and she can't find friends that are conservative.
Within her group of
Yes.
Indians.
So in her community, she's an outcast. Well, here's what I like for each different group in America. I don't like one group to be a voting bloc for anything.
Well, that's what gets underneath my skin is the idea. You look at blacks in America; they've been voting as a bloc since probably, well, it really began in earnest under FDR in about 1944, where he used the various work programs to buy off segments of the community. Pennsylvania, for example, was a Republican state until he really bought off all the unions that were working there. And same thing with blacks in the community. He specifically focused on areas where he could focus a lot of the WPA money and things of that nature. And that's when the blacks came over. I mean, there's a big misconception that something happened in the big shift or whatever they call that. That never really happened.
Well, with this election, you see there's changes within the black population.
Small.
Yeah, small, but yes, at least there's a swing. I believe there's a swing now. And I've met Colonel Allen West, and you have too, I believe.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He's a great conservative. And remember, on Chad's Prater show, I actually mentioned this, and my second thing was that black conservatives actually can save this country. When I say they can save this country, because the left has taken this country way to the left, that I think there's a point where we either have to wake up and say, should we allow this narrative by the left to change us in a terrible way? And black conservatives are waking up. I believe they're waking up in sizable number that might have an impact.
Right. Well, yeah, my concern is at some point we get so far from center, because this country's always been a center country. It's
Right.
The far sides on either side kind of balance everything out. And the people in the middle are the knuckleheads that wait till 1 hour before they go to the poll to make up their mind. They're gonna, oh man, that drives me nuts. But I don't know. At some point, I'm concerned that it's going to tilt so far to the left. I mean, I look at what's going on in Texas. I mean, people are moving here it looks like a conga line of ants coming from LA out there to Amarillo on the interstate. Same thing for Chicago, same thing for New York. It's the same thing. And they're moving here by the gobs. And these knuckleheads, they still vote for Democrats. I do not get it for the life of me. That great big experiment, they own California. They own it. Every seat in the state Senate, they own. There are no conservatives left, and they run that state into the ground. And how those folks can move here and not see that with a jaundiced eye and say to themselves, I don't want any part of that. I want to keep Texas, Texas. But they don't want to.
Well, I can't speak for any person that moves from California to here, but I do agree that when you come to a state like this, we do have conservative, values here that we want to protect. And if you're gonna move to a place like this, do at least respect us in terms of our values.
Yeah.
I mean, we came from Vietnam. We come here. I'm not asking you to change, your values just to suit
But
me.
isn't that what's going on? Aren't people from Texas being asked to change who they are to suit the people that are moving here? Aren't we told that we need to adopt all these cultural programs from the Indians or from the Californians or the Chicago guys? I mean, aren't they aren't they not willing to come to us and become Texan as much as they want us to become whatever culture that they come from? And I use India. I could have used any of them.
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter. New York. I mean, you know,
Well, they do. Once they move here, they do have the right to vote. But then, it isn't it your and mine too as well? Isn't it our job to actually stand up for our values and not be complacent about it?
yeah, but maybe it's the way you grow up. Maybe you grow up and you've got parents that are far left, knucklehead, cuckoo head liberals, and your kids never see anything else. I mean, Christian families tend to raise Christian kids, not Muslim kids. Same thing with the Muslims; they don't tend to. So, I suspect there's a lot of it that comes out of the core representation of the family. Whatever the family is, to some extent, you're going to be like that.
Well, let's just focus on a few things. I mean, I think even some liberals will agree with me on this, is that the First Amendment is very important to our way of life.
As long as it suits them.
Well, like I said, if they understand what the First Amendment is all about, it's about your right to speak up things that I don't agree with.
Mm.
If you and I agree with, what's the big deal with the First Amendment if we both agree? It's about speaking up things that you and I disagree, but you have the same respect that, hey, I'm going to allow you to speak,
Right.
just like you would allow me to speak, even though you wouldn't like what I'm telling you.
Jordan Peterson's a great psychologist from Canada. He's become world renowned. Unfortunately, he's become very ill in the last year. Great guy. I think I've listened to hundreds of hours of his lectures on YouTube. Jordan Peterson, if you haven't heard of him. And Jordan says that the First Amendment completes the process of civil discourse. And he says, this is why. You have a thought. So you think the thought. You speak the thought. And then the thought is judged. If you break any of those three links along the way, it has the impact of stifling free speech. Once free speech is stifled, it's like these corporate multicultural training, diversity training programs that they have. They're not teaching me to be diverse in my thought. What they're teaching me is to be so careful with everything I do. I don't even want to open the door for a woman anymore because that woman may not be a woman and she may be offended or they may see it as sexual aggression. Yeah. And I think it's done so incredible much damage to this country. I think it hasn't fixed the relationships between people. I think it's made them worse.
I agree. I mean, diversity divides rather than unite. I mean, I want to be assimilated, just like I want other people to come here and assimilate.
Right.
Just like if you go to China, you want to assimilate into that culture. So, and I kept saying this over and over again to people. My dad told me this: the faster you assimilate, the more you assimilate to any place that you go to, the better off you will be.
Right.
And America is not going down that route. We believe in diversity, but we get pushing it to the point where it becomes confrontational.
I agree.
So,
you look at what's going on. We share a local school here. We've had a big issue with this. And what I see in the school is instead of treating everybody on the same plane, they set up these silos. And matter of fact, they have an acronym that is about this long: LGBTXYZ. I mean, they've got so many letters, and each one of those represent a silo that has to be treated differently, that has to be given a different level of respect or understanding. Instead of treating us all as one tribe, as one family, they want to pick these people out and give them special treatment in a lot of cases. I mean, if you look at what's going on at Harvard and Yale right now, if I was an Indian, I'd be apoplectic over what they do. The out and out racism for admissions into the university. If you're black or Hispanic, you can literally make a lower grade on your SAT and get accepted into Harvard and Yale. All right, and why would Indians support that for 1 second? That's what happens when you have this liberal train of thought. Yeah. Those are the unintended consequences, and yet they still vote for these guys. I'm
Yeah, I can't answer
mystified
that.
by that.
I am too, and I would like for you to one day find someone that can actually sit down and be honest with you about this. I'm pretty open to discussion. I'm honest about things, you know. But I'm telling you, white men have to stand up for your values.
I agree.
And these traditional values.
But I think we have to give them a roadmap. Don't we have to give them a roadmap? When you say, it's not as simple as just say, well, stand up and show your balls. I mean, the reality of it is, if I go to my corporation and I say, this whole thing about Black Lives Matter, that's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. That is the most racist thing I've ever seen in my life. How the hell can you agree to that, have that painted within your corporation on basketball courts, crap like that? I mean, so if I speak up against it, I get pilloried. I may even get fired from my job for it.
So you're telling me that there's no, going back, legal recourse. You can't do anything about that?
Lawyers,
but if there's
a good lawyer costs $500 an hour.
Well, if there's enough people standing up to it, what's going to happen?
I just don't see, look, when Floyd got killed, I saw tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people coming out. But if a white dude or a Vietnamese dude, they get killed, nobody comes out. No buildings get burnt. Nobody gets the crap beat out of them. That's that. And maybe it's a cultural thing. Maybe it's a racial thing. I don't know. But
race is a very, very sensitive thing here in America. I'm not talking about whether it's Asian racism or Indian racism, but racism when it comes to Black Americans, very sensitive because it goes back to the beginning of our founding,
right?
With slavery. So that is a topic that I don't want to get into. It can take forever to actually even begin a conversation on this.
Well, here's what I know for sure. This new generation, you're lucky to keep them for 15 minutes on a YouTube broadcast.
Yeah.
And so we're at the 15-minute mark. We're going to have to wrap it up. I just want a special shout out and thanks to the world famous Hawaiian nail bar in South Lake, Texas, and Sheena Snow, ear technician, Sheena Snow, the number one at yahoo.com. Reach out to them if you're a shootist like myself, you'd like to go to the range. She'll get you set up with some really nice custom fits. They come in and they put wax in your ear, pull out and make this mold. They're phenomenal. Custom earplugs and Sheena Snow, and she can be reached at 214-864-0121, and she lives in Keller, Texas. I'll put some links up, so we can see what that's all about. But a really fine product that she has. I love it quite a bit. And I like getting my feet done too. So that's all I have. Do you want to say anything here as we close?
Well, great talking to you.
Glad
and,
that's all you have. No.
Grow some balls.
Well, when you get older, things shrink. It's just the way life is. So.
Well, as an Asian like me, you can't afford to shrink anymore.
Right. So, folks, you know how this works. You got to like it. You got to comment on it. You got to share it. You got to hit the subscribe and hit the little bell. And if you want to hear more of this craziness, we plan to do more. How much? What did this cost? What are you charging me for tonight's episode?
Six pack.
Six pack. You got a deal. All right. Thanks for watching Wise Guy Talks. This guy Natan Ton. Say goodbye. Ciao, baby.